got my Lego Death Star. And that was a huge experience for me, because until then, I was thinking, this was such a far removed world. I was 8 years old. I was like, I could never run my own business, but this showed me that I could. And I wanted to provide that same mentality to other kids. So I created jackstands.com and expanded to 4 other farmers market locations. At jackstands.com, kids and their families, just like you guys, could sign up for a date and a location to operate a stand. They would show up and I teach them how to greet and serve the customer, how to make change, take credit cards, the ins and outs of running a stand. And then at the end of the day, we'd go through a mini profit and loss statement to figure out the revenue, expenses, profit, and tips. Yes, revenue is, just like you said, a lot of money. It is how much money you make. It is your total sales. And then, of course, you have the expenses of operating a stand. So you have to pay for the lemonade, the materials to build the stands, the space that you rented out in the farmer's market. And then after you take away your expenses from your revenue, that's when you get your own profit, right? And that's how much money you made. And then you add in your tips. And that's what we would go through every day with every kid who would operate one of my stands. And so we go through that mini profit and loss statement. And that was always my favorite part of operating my stands, seeing how kids, just like you guys, would come into this unknown world and kind of be a little shy and timid, but then walk out with a renewed confidence and understanding of whether like entrepreneurship, business, financial literacy. So I operated my stands like this for about 2 years, and then once I had multiple locations, I started to think, I was like, I'm getting a lot of foot traffic at my stands right now. So what if I reached out to some other young entrepreneurs that I had gotten to know and said, hey, can I sell your products at my stands? And most of them said yes. And that's how I created the second part of my first business, Jack's Marketplaces. And at Jack's Marketplaces, I sold other young entrepreneurs' products and told their inspirational stories. And kids could operate the marketplaces just like they operated the stands. So the first time that my story was shared outside of my hometown was when I was interviewed for the New York Times. How many of you guys are familiar with the New York Times? Okay, yeah, a great chunk of you. For those of you who are not, it's a very huge newspaper, it's one of the largest newspapers in our country. And they reached out to me and they wanted to do an article, and that was really the first time that I'd been interviewed on such a large scale. And as such, I was extremely nervous. But it taught me a lesson that, like, whenever someone's asking a question about you, I had some problems with talking about myself and expressing what I'd done. I learned that whenever someone's like in a situation like this, all you need to do is kind of think of it as you're talking to a friend, right?